we have to understand that current terrorism phenomenon requires a very clear collaboration between all kind of police and between all kind of security services, including intelligence, including military, and including local and regional police forces. In most of the cases, detecting and putting into jail like terrorists or to eradicate a terrorist plan, it's only in the details. I mean, for example, a local police that sees an unusual car in a street, or somebody that appears in one house that has never been there. There are some very little details that if there is a correct change of information, it will allow to detect terrorist attacks and terrorist plots. And for example, I'm going to put in the case of ETA in Spain. It was very clear that when all the polices from Spain and from France, including secret services, start to work together and to work together in the same table, in the same offices, together in sharing all the information, it was the time that this terrorist group disappeared, because all the information is shared and all the details, are well known by everybody.
Having said that, Javier, we've been seeing with this recent spate of so-called low-tech attacks, where people are using vehicles, they're not using munitions, they're not using weaponry, that it's very difficult, in fact, to predict those sort of attacks and to prevent them. So what would you say to that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's harder than ever. I mean, especially because these kind of terrorist groups, and it's a strategy that is very well planned, by groups that like ISIS, to or create or to inspire terrorist groups without a structure that are much more difficult to detect. In any event, all people always at the last steps of the radicalization process make some signals, start to behave like very strange, start to buy strange things, for example, buy or have in the same house like a lot of amounts of material to make explosives. I mean, there are always like small details that could lead to the detection of these groups.
Two details that come back, or two questions that come back a lot, I think, when it comes to terrorism, Javier, is the balance to be struck between personal freedom on the one hand, civil liberties, and broader security of the community. Where do you stand on that question? Of course, now there's more of an emphasis being put on the security question, but if that means eavesdropping on phone conversations, listening in on various different communications between people, then I guess personal freedoms are being diminished, right?
Well, but we have to understand that this is the world we are living. I mean, for example, when we use our computer every day, and for example, when we are buying like something on the website, the website already knows what we want to buy, because they are tracking constantly our habits, our way of life. The engine searchers of the websites, they know where we are, they know what are our predictions. So we are already like very monitored by private companies that know everything about our life. And if, for example, if I'm completely sure that if I make a search about how to make a bomb in my house and I start to buy internet components for make a bomb, it's possible
those keywords are identified.
I expect as a citizen that there are some public service that is going to detect this. Mm-hmm. So I think that we have to understand this like a normal part of our life.